No, you're not seeing things, ladies and gentlemen. We're live in broad daylight. And actually, in a way, we are in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, because we're starting prime time several hours early. Because everybody, ladies and gentlemen, in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit has been talking about what ROEW champion Jack Delta, the outsider, had to say. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Maybe this afternoon we get a chance to hear from what the real outsider has to say. Yes, that's right, the real outsider, because the real outsider is going to drop maybe his own pipe bomb. Because after all, sure, Jack Delta might have had his own pipe bomb moment on Sportswire Radio, but I can assure you, you might want to get the popcorn ready. You might want to stay on a lunch break for the next hour. You might want to just drop what you are doing, because Aaron Blaze is not only going to throw his own pipe bombs toward Jack Delta, he's going to throw maybe his own pipe bombs toward the entire backyard and underground wrestling community. So you might want to duck for cover, especially if you're in the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit. And Aaron Blaze is going to talk about that, plus set the tables for us coming up here in ROEW, because Jack Delta and Aaron Blaze is a match, well, I guess nobody would ever see coming, but you're going to get a chance to see it, and we're going to preview it. Plus, I guess I'm going to be the lucky guy that gets to go first before CJ Black, the good guy, gets to talk to Aaron Blaze and Jack Delta. But boy, ladies and gentlemen, CJ Black might be a 7-star superstar, but I don't know if I'd want to be him and get in the middle of these two guys and some. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, since after all, it's early, it's an early start to prime time. And usually Aaron Blaze doesn't come on Sportswire Radio very often. But since he's decided he wants to be here, it's time for him to call his shot and maybe address even some of the mid names. That's right, the mid names, not the mid card, but the mid names that have come on Sportswire Radio. I'm going to give him that opportunity. And, Aaron, since Jack Delta got that introduction a few days ago on Sportswire Radio, and so many of your colleagues, and maybe some of your colleagues in other promotions that you've worked for or currently work in and hold the championship, I'm going to give you maybe even that passion-like project of an introduction, because after all, Mr. Delta has said one of the companies that you've helped build actually to so many subscribers that almost one company that you worked for in Indiana, you almost have as many subscribers as them, and subscribers that you work for in another company out there in Tennessee, you actually have more than 2 times the number of those subscribers. I'm going to give you that passion-like introduction, because after all, everybody's waiting for it. You don't get it often, and since Jack Delta got that passion-like introduction here, it's time to get this show on the road and give you that introduction, even though I might only be half awake, but it ain't like nothing when it comes to Sportswire Radio, and you're here, so I'm going to wake up real quick, and I'm probably going to wake up not only the neighbors, because they're after all dead people right across the street, but I'm going to wake up the entire backyard in the underground wrestling circuit, and probably Jack Delta right now with the introduction from you, my friend. So with that, without further ado, here in the Sports Report, number one Rebel Sports Show. A man that has wrestled in now 19 companies. He's the reigning, defending UWA Heritage Champion. Simply put, he's the headline and the main event. champ is here. How are you?
I'm good. I always love coming on here. This is my second time, and it gets better every single time. It's great to be here. I apologize for it being early. I
No.
myself
You're
am not an
Aaron Blaze.
early
I
person.
got to be honest because, I heard some of the things you said and basically bringing yourself back onto Sportswire. And I know what you're saying because sometimes we do have, different people that come on and, they're very
Yeah.
mid and they're very, they come on here and they can't talk. They can't have a conversation. And I'm sitting there and I'm going,
Yeah, they can't speak without yelling every five
they can't
seconds.
speak. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying and, and it's like, I get it. So listen, trust me. I have done I'm doing this 5.5 years. I have interviewed people in the world of politics. I famously interviewed a state senator in my state. And I was like this during the conference. This was 4 years ago. And I was like,
That's insane to me.
so I've
That's
interviewed people around the world. I've interviewed people that have played in the World Series, won the World Series in baseball. They've played nearly in the Stanley Cup Finals in the NHL. I've had players that have played in the Final Four that are in my Hall of Fame in basketball. In addition to backyard and underground wrestling, obviously also pros I've done guys like Dean Allmark, who have wrestled in TNA Impact Wrestling, maybe the greatest British independent wrestler ever. He trained Tony Storm. So I know, trust me, I have probably done about 1,500 interviews in 5.5 years, maybe a little more than that, just about. So I know, trust me, there have been people that have come on here and it's tough, but I know you're going to have no problem with that. So if you're out there in the chat right now, just sit back, have a cold beverage next to you. If you're on lunch break, sit for the next hour and enjoy. But Aaron Blaze, there is a lot to talk about here in a short amount of time. And
indeed.
for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where figuratively and literally all wrestling matters, I want to basically give you kind of to open things up the first salvo, and what I'm sure will promise will be many salvos toward what the man they call the outsider, Jack Delta, the ROEW champion, had to say about you, Aaron Blaze, and almost everything about your entire career before you
Yeah.
finally faced off with him last week.
Yeah, so I find it funny how he's called the outsider, right? Jack Delta is painted as this big figure for the entire community, whether it's backyard or underground or whatever we want to call it, because everyone's philosophies of what their companies are and what wrestling is different.
Sure.
I don't believe in that outsider BS. Like you said earlier, if anything, I'm the real outsider of this whole entire community
You've
movement,
been an
et cetera, et
insurgent
cetera.
your entire career. I'm going to use the term from my political career because I've kind of been an insurgent in my own life. You have been the true insurgent. Aaron Blaze
Yeah.
has been this insurgent.
Yeah, and it, like Delta said, it all stems from me watching him because very few people know this, and you really have to pay attention to the things that people say and people make references to because it gets people to think, it gets people to feel. I was watching him in MEBW when he was known as Christopher Camara and he was a referee. And since then, he's needed the bigger names in that company that I watched to build him up. It happened in Rogue 4. It happened being best friends with Tommy Gunn, Ref to Riches with Ken Havoc and Owen O'Ryan, and only few people are gonna know what I'm talking about. And this is what's so funny to me is that I actually, unlike most, pay attention to everything that happens in the yard, even if it's something I don't like.
You
Because
tell me, you know what? I got to
yeah,
say, we've known each other since one company that you obviously had a stint in. I won't
which
name that company.
I'll bring them up in a moment.
Oh, I know they're coming, but you and I have been talking for a while, for many months now, and you would tell me about different things in different places, and you would tell me about different people that I've interviewed. I mean, everybody knows
Mhm.
I'm here every day on this, but people, I think at this point would like to chain me to my laptop to be able to speak to people. No, but obviously the facts are is that you will tell me about people I interview. So there's no question that I would say that there is nobody that probably knows more about the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit than maybe the real outsider, Aaron Blaze. I mean, Jack Delta has basically said that, he comes on the Sportswire, he goes on the chat, he watches the shows, but he doesn't watch a lot of the different feds that are out there. You are a true student of the game, though, on the other hand.
Right, because if you're not watching almost everything that's going on, and you don't have to be like a super fan, but if you're not studying everything that's going on in every single aspect, you're not a real student of the game. I study it for different reasons because I have my own promotion. Like Delta said, it's a passion project. But yet, last time I checked, working on new belts, all this equipment. Gee, I don't know. Sounds like a lot of investing for a passion project. But that's the thing, and I'll go back to what I was saying earlier. Delta has had bigger people build him up into what he is. He didn't start how I started. Our paths, although are somewhat the same, are vastly different because he started in a different position. I started as a wrestler because I knew in my heart I was meant to be a wrestler. I didn't want to be a referee. I didn't want to be a manager. In this kind of field, you have to know when to step up, when to step aside, and when you want to get out into this field. You have to know where you stand and what you're truly capable of. And if you don't know, then get the hell out.
And
And
you're
I
listening,
know I'm up
and you've
here.
been doing that, and you're 19 years old, and you've really grown up through the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit. You have
Yeah.
basically gotten an education and a life lessons really from your travels. That's what it sounds like for us.
Yeah, I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. And by the time Jack Delta was a referee, I was already thinking of starting YBW.
Which we have the link right there on YouTube for people to go hit the sub button for.
Right. And I know like a lot of people knock that for whatever reason and blah, 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 blah. I would rather start from nothing and slowly become something over time than have it handed to me. And that's what I feel like with a handful of these people. You have guys in TBW pretending to be somebody else. You have all these collaborations happening and occurring because nobody can stand on their own 2 feet. You have all of these people talking about going places and they never do. And when they do, they're not doing anything of substance. And it's just like I started from nothing to become something. Nothing was ever handed to me. Over 1,000 subscribers wasn't handed to me. And I truly believe that if we didn't experience so many setbacks, YBW would have two, three, 4,000. I believe we'd be at a higher standing. And I'm still doing things to get us at a higher standing. But I hate this idea that people act like we don't exist. And even then, my following stems from YBW. I
For
wore that
sure,
very
but
logo
what?
on my shirt when I showed up to
Sure,
ROEW.
absolutely, no question about that. And but I want to ask you though, and you talk about some of those things. You've talked about obviously the journey, no question. The journey that you've gone on speaks volumes. I mean, what you've done, what Mr. Delta has done. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And even another individual that Mr. Delta kind of alluded to is maybe in some ways that should have been the opponent he's facing, or that was the opponent that he kind of respected more of his journey recently. But what do you say though when Mr. Delta talks about the fact, sure, you've been to now 19 companies with ROEW now number 19, but a lot of the places you went to, and you were this big fish in a small pond. What do you say to when Mr. Delta had brought that up?
Well, it's kind of funny to have that comparison when he's obviously going to get all those things because he's him. And we are two completely different people in that paradigm. I am very aware that people are going to look to Jack Delta because of the views, the likes, the comments, the subs he can bring in.
MEBW, ESW,
Right.
he's been to TBW,
But
sure.
anybody has that capability. And I was, how do I put this? I was less fortunate to do some of those things. The first couple years I spent in the realm of backyard wrestling, I was not really allowed to do it because my family was so overprotective,
Well,
let
you
alone
started
travel
just
from
at
state to
12
state.
years old. I mean, obviously,
Right.
Mr. Delta, obviously was a grown man by the time he had started and traveled. I mean, you were obviously, an adolescent. Understood.
Right. But that doesn't take away from how, even when I wasn't supposed to do it, I was still doing it. And for any hiatus I would take, I would be working to go to other places to help build up other companies. And that's something that really pissed me off with what Delta said. He said something along the lines of how, God, I mean, he said a lot of shit. It's so hard to
Well, he
think.
talked about the fact that you went to these places and, it was almost as if You went to garbage places. Almost you went to these
Right,
places.
right. But that's the thing. That's the thing. And I'm glad you said that because he himself is guilty of doing the exact same
He
thing.
talked about how many titles you've won. He talked about, sure, you got all these championships, but he almost kind of dismissed them. He
Right,
dismissed them. Go ahead.
right. But this is the same person that wouldn't show up to Texas, who wouldn't show up to Indiana and all these other places and not get a championship. I remember watching ROEW videos before I joined. Obviously, I'm a consumer.
I know
And one of
we've
the
talked
things he
about
said
this.
in
Go ahead.
his farewell, he said, "Oh, I should be the main event wherever I go, blah 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 blah." And it's just like so hypocritical because he'll be the one person to say that, oh, titles don't matter, this, that, and the third. And all these other fans, they'll say the exact same thing, but they're only saying it because Delta's saying it. And the thing that pisses me off about this community is that nobody practices what they preach. And they only say and want to do certain things because of guys like me and him. Like, I'm not taking anything away from how ROEW has talent and has potential, but notice that before I joined, people did talk about having interest in heading out there. But the moment I do, explain to me why there were 10 different people in a live chat talking to James Taylor, wanting a shot at Jack Delta or
And
to just be an
ROEW
ROEW
today
period.
just hit, for the audience out there, 750 subscribers on YouTube.
That's
ROEW, since you've showed up alone, has generated over 24 subscribers in a week. 24. We're talking 30 subscribers almost since you've come to the company. Weekend
right.
Warfare, since then, we're talking about over 50 subscribers in 2 weeks. This is basically, so for the audience out there, from doing my math, that's almost 5 to 7% of the subscribers that ROEW in the last 2 weeks, not even, has generated alone. That means the interest right now and the demand from your return here into wrestling to another company, Mr. Delta and his match, all these things, all the algorithms show that Aaron Blaze is the one that's driving up the demand, driving up the interest into ROEW. It's a new day. It's a new company in some ways that people are viewing for the first time because of your following, your foothold. And, Mr. Delta kind of dismissed that a little bit.
Right. And it's funny that he'll dismiss it, but he says he respects me though. And he appreciates that I have passion, says I have promise. And a handful of people, they can say the same thing. But when it boils down to me finally making the jump to a high level place, to one of the big leagues, because almost every company is the big league now, when I made that jump, all of a sudden people are trashing me saying you're not on the level of a Delta, or people thinking that I'm not even rateable, or people thinking I can't hang in the ring with him in any capacity. When in 6 years, we've been doing this for almost the same amount of time. And aside from companies, I've never been injured. I've never taken a break. Let's talk
Oh,
about
are,
that. Because
are
he
you are
said,
you saying then that Mr. Delta's the one that doesn't have the passion? Is that what you're telling me? Because you alluded to.
no, and that's what I'm saying, is that Delta only really has the passion when it suits him. I have the passion because I do care about all wrestling. And I'm gonna bring in XCW into this, and they can take this as a jab. I don't give a shit. I've always
No,
already
we're
managed to
live
piss a
right
lot
now.
of them
Listen,
off.
Aaron Blaze, we're live. You got the floor.
I know people look down on that whole run, but for someone like me who used to talk about showing up to companies and didn't really get to do much and had all of these shackles put on me, I showed up there for 4 months consistently. I made it to every single show. I
And the amount
called
of
on
hours
support.
that you went to get there.
Yeah,
I mean, you and I, listen, no, this is real. This is a shoot right now. You and I would speak, and you would be on the Greyhound going to Indiana. You
yep,
and I would be speaking when you were down there. And you put a lot of sacrifice to go there. You weren't just there to show up and get a belt. You were there to
No.
show up, to be a part of that roster, to be a permanent member of that roster, to
Yeah.
help that company get more subs, to help that company get more viewers live that watch their shows. Because Lord knows this is a shoot. XCW social media is probably the bottom of the barrel in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit. I love XCW dearly. We have XCW coverage coming up here more often on Sportswire Radio. Justin Parsley was announced, but he's one of the guys that actually
Right.
promotes. He does it on his own. Julian Voigt Jacobs is here, but the facts are that XCW social media is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the backyard and the underground circuit. There are companies that come on here and they at least go out there and they know to share the link. They know to go out there and repost. They're actively retweeting or actively re-showing something on TikTok, whatever it is, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. They don't do that. Their lives up until recently, because, well, they came back to Sportswire, their lives for their live shows get 9, 10, 8 people watching. Now, obviously, Brogan was here last week. Boyd was here on Sunday. Okay, Extreme King got 20 plus live people watching it, but the facts are is that you were there to help XCW, to help XCW social media, to help
Yep.
XCW attract more talent. And you started that by, oh, by the way, Wrestling Division Nick. Oh, pretty big name.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, and I'm not knocking them for 21 years, and I know people are probably going to take this as me continuing the jab on them because we often do it in the comments because a certain someone kind of does deserve it. But notice that
A
when I
few of
went
them there
there,
do.
yeah, but notice that when I went there, nobody really saw value in them until I went there. Don't you find it funny that for the standard of everything that we do, it takes a random Puerto Rican black kid who's 19 years old to show up to your show for 4 months, not ask you of anything but help if you need it? Isn't that funny how you all of a sudden have this big following and you're the talk of the town? But again, I'm not a draw though. What do I know? And I'll give you another example. I love UWA, and I know there's been shots taken at them, and ironically, it's the same people that wanted to go there and asked to show up there that are taking these shots, and just,
Right.
in my opinion, dick sucking because Jack Delta's Jack Delta. But I'm convinced, and this is no disrespect to them, they can take this however they want. For every single time I've been there, I'm convinced they wouldn't have reached certain milestones if it was not for me. And I'm doing it
What do you mean
not
by that to
as
the audience out there?
because if you look at UWA,
Oh, I
they
watched
have
you. You were just at Anniversary 3. You successfully defended your championship against JD Mercer. Absolutely.
right. Like if you look at every single one of them, just because they're not perfect doesn't mean they can't perform. Everyone starts off rusty and
Oh, for
rough
sure.
around the edges. And UWA's only been around for 3 years. Some
Correct.
companies don't some companies don't get to a certain point for 5
Hey,
or for
listen, you talked
6.
about XCW. XCW is 21 years in and only recently hit 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if we're going to go on statistics, I mean,
Yeah.
XCW didn't start being when you were there in the St. Paul's gym. XCW was on the ground. They were on the mat. They were like everybody else. I mean, everybody, listen, everybody has to start somewhere. I mean, I love TBW deal. I know you and I have a little bit of a difference of an opinion on that, but TBW didn't start off with the fancy editing and the fancy state of the art ring and all
Right.
these people that wanted to come in there. Everybody has to start somewhere. Everybody, I don't want to say it, everybody was once upon a time Triple W or RCEW. I mean, let's be honest. Let's call a spade a spade.
Right, exactly. And while you mentioned TBW, granted I have my opinions of them. You just get over things. Honestly, if an opportunity did present itself, I would consider going there since people think I can't hack it in the big leagues and I wouldn't be that far away from them because I can at least admit that they are trying. The scenery,
You
the
can't
editing,
deny the fact that they have 7,500 plus subscribers on
right,
YouTube.
and
They will
regardless
have
of the means of getting it, it is something they've acquired and they're continuously doing all of these things to keep moving forward and prospering. So I can't knock them for that. I can't knock anybody for that. But when it comes to me trying to do that with either YBW or traveling, people will knock me for it. they'll knock me for it in any shape or form. They'll say, "Oh, you're good, but you're not great." And it's like, what? And here's the thing, I would rather be second or third rate than not even rated at all. Because unless certain names come out of my mouth right now, these people aren't even in the conversation. And Tom, you are one of the very few people that know me on a personal level. And it's
Yes.
obvious you can tell that I'm not really in a location that is my own. And I'm still traveling. And I'm still doing my show.
So are you telling the audience that really you have done so much for the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit, and by coming into ROEW, you've come into ROEW, which again, ROEW
Yeah.
now, really in the last month and a half, has now become this company that everybody really wants to put a foothold in. Sure, last year Law was here, the foundation was here, JX, but at that particular time, ROEW might have been seen as the true passion project. ROEW might have been seen as this company. Sure, we were covering it here on Sportswire, but a lot of people looked at ROEW not in the way they look at ROEW today. I mean,
Right.
today is different. ROEW's got James Taylor as the owner of ROEW. You can say what you want about James Taylor, just like you, though, but James Taylor is a household name. He is a draw. He's got 78,000 followers plus on TikTok. YouTube, 40,000 plus subs on YouTube. You
Yeah.
look at his following, what he says in the back. He was the man that I bought the Promo Wrestling Federation from, which has, by the way, on YouTube, 1,250 plus subscribers. James Taylor is a name that when he comes on Sportswire, either you love him or not, you tune in. Jack
Yeah.
Delta now has decided to keep his foothold in ROEW. Why? Because he sees the tea leaves. And now you've joined, and I'm sure we'll see many others that'll come into ROEW now because people can read the tea leaves. They can see now that ROEW is a place that they want to establish a foothold in and kind of be alongside some of those feds. Maybe even one of those feds that you used to work in that I think a lot of people would say now that ROEW is surpassed. And as a matter of fact, I want to go even further, Aaron Blaze. You know, everybody's talking about right now this event, Summer Bash, which is going to obviously change the game for a lot of people in the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit. We have the Riot in the Ring that is about to take fold here and end it coming this Friday here, and check them out at NEW Underground Wrestling. They're about to hit 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. They're about to have
That's
now
for
an
them.
All Wrestling Matters hardcore tournament coming up in August. But really, the epicenter, despite all of those events, which are, again, tremendous events, which will be continuing the foothold of open collaboration, All Wrestling Matters, but it's really ROEW right now that's dominated the talk in the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit because, again, James Taylor, everybody talks about him. Jack Delta actually staying in a company more than just a passion project, the real passion project. And then you, oh, by the way, walking in. I mean, so at the end of the day, maybe ROEW is the true epicenter of backyard and underground wrestling. And that's because of, well, Aaron Blaze and a few others deciding to say, you know what? I want to stay here.
Right. And again, I don't like fully taking credit, but I also like being honest. And the reason ROEW is getting so much talk is because of what you see right now, because I made one hell of a jump that people
The
never thought
best
I would make.
segment in backyard and underground wrestling of 2024 was this. Not even close.
Not for me to say, I don't like being biased, but there is so much history there. There is so much legacy, and this is personal. I don't know when it comes up. I bet it comes up soon, but I'm making remarks about his hurt ribs. I'm making remarks about his elbow, and I'm knocking it off the ropes, and I'm bumping like it doesn't even phase me. I've been landed on my head so many times to the point where I think I might have gotten a concussion or two, and I kept showing up and doing what I do
And you
best.
kept
And I didn't
traveling
care.
too. You kept
Right.
traveling.
While running my own business, which people can discredit me for that, but I honestly don't think. For me, traveling like this, running my own show, and dealing what I currently deal with on a real level, on a real spectrum, I don't think there's anybody, including Delta, that could walk a mile in my shoes and continuously do it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've been burnt out on a personal level since late 2022. Carry on to early 2023. I dealt with a hard breakup. I was falling behind in school after having a bunch of straight A's. and almost committed suicide. And that's real shit. And I continued to travel. I continued to wrestle. And this is what
And
gets
you
me so
didn't have
mad.
people, by the way, that offered for you to go up in a hotel or offer to go up and help you get to where you needed to be. That sounds like Aaron Blaze. When you were going to places, you were on your own, kid. You were there with your
Yeah,
bags in your hand, and you were basically to fend for yourself in a world that you didn't even know, a world that you almost had no choice but to fend for yourself without even really the whereabouts to know what you were doing.
exactly. But I'm used to being by myself. This isn't nothing new, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist
But
to
you're
figure out a
still
quantum
a
system.
baby in a man's world. Mr.
Yeah, I get what you're
Delta,
saying.
I mean, he's used to being a big name and he's used to everybody coming to him and fanboying over him. And, basically, yeah, Mr. Delta, almost giving him the Hulk Hogan treatment every Fed he goes to, making sure whatever you need, Jack. Yeah, but you were in Indiana just before, and those guys have been piling on you since you left Indiana. Those guys have been left and right saying, Aaron Blaze, Aaron Blaze, I worked with you, but I thought I was this. We tried to help you. Aaron Blaze, sure, you're in Tennessee right now, but you went out there against the guy, JD Mercer, and no disrespect, but the guy that beat you up afterwards looks like maybe he should go to the developmental center that used to be the PWF for TBW, and he might want to show up in PWF Mid-South. It might want to take some training. I mean, that's not a caliber opponent you should be facing. I mean, if we're going to be honest, Mr. Delta, compared to your career in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit as a traveler, he's been coddled. You're this guy that's had to go out there and wrestle people and deal with people that honestly, I mean, you want to talk about the definition of mid, that could be their first, middle, and last initials. I mean, let's be honest. You've had to carry people. You've almost had to carry 800-pound gorillas on your back to help them get more engagements. They could come on Sportswire and probably not even get a tenth of the name and be able to talk for almost if their life depended on it. You've had to carry these type of individuals on your back. Mr. Delta, no question what he has done. We love Jack Delta here on this platform. I don't necessarily know if I'm a Jack Delta fanboy because I don't know all the different, optics. But Jack Delta is somebody we respect. He is one of the greatest draws in the backyard in the wrestling circuit. But he's been given far more opportunities when it sounds like you, Mr. Blaze, have been garnered. That's what it sounds like to me.
No, that's exactly what it is. And if you look at what happened in his first defense to me laying him out, let's talk about that whole Jason Storm thing for a second.
Go for it.
This is why this match is going to be so crazy, because I truly believe that if this was 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to take Delta off his guard so easily. And we'll get into the reason why. I'll tell everyone the reason in a second. But if this was 2021 or 2022 or any of the years when he was really out there, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And if this wasn't that far back, I think he would have already beaten JX on his own. So once again, we talk about him being coddled. His first defense, he had help. Whether incidental or not, having the knowledge of it or not, he couldn't beat JX.
And you've wrestled, listen, and you know JX very well. You know these guys in Jason Storm.
Yeah.
You've been in the ring with Jason Storm. So
I've been in the ring with both of them. I've been in the ring with JX and Jason Storm in my, I think, third match for OMW, and Jason Storm sadly stopped me from taking my first loss as OMW United States champion.
We spoke about this here in the past when you were here the first time. We spoke about your history with Jason Storm. Absolutely.
I am yet to beat him in a match. I lost to him in a triple threat, and I lost him one-on-one in Can't Bother Wrestling, but, well, that's a whole different conversation for another time.
Never heard of them, so don't worry about that. Never heard of them.
Yeah, but, like, it just gets me so mad because people will say these things about me, and very few of them know the things that I've already casted out publicly, and I'm not afraid to say it because
you've had, listen, I've got, I want to get to comments in a second because I know we only have so much time with you, but I want to say this. I've gotten to know, I know what you've been dealing with at home. I know what you've
Hmm.
been dealing with in relationships. I know what you've been dealing with in the work struggle that you've had. And I think for what you've done coming here, whereas on the other hand, Mr. Delta, I mean, his ROEW, if you know, we're going to really go there. I mean, basically, you brought up some things. His ROEW run up until the new hair color change, what has it been? CJ Black, the good guy's beaten him multiple times. Jack Delta's obviously struggled with Jason Storm in the past. You talked about that. He was the ROEW champion last year in a different life. And Jack Delta and JX, we know their history. Some people think that despite it being the greatest match in the underground and the backyard wrestling circuit and being in our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame as our first match to be inducted, that Jack Delta couldn't put away the matchmaker JX. And maybe if you really look at it, Jack Delta's run in ROEW and maybe Jack Delta's runs in places over the past year or so has been very mid. Because let's be honest, the run in Indiana that Jack Delta had, we spoke about it here after you came on the show. He basically kind of said it without saying it. I said it for him. It was very mid. Lost to Jesse Justice. His run in North Carolina started with a lot of hype, but ended kind of with a whimper. And really his time in Michigan has been, well, what has it been? Up until the new hair change, sure, he won a belt, but a lot of people felt that Jacob Collins should still be, of all people, Jacob Collins should still be the ROEW champion. So maybe really Aaron Blaze, it's Jack Delta who's been more of the mid when it comes to everything that we've talked about here. Maybe it's Jack Delta. And, you know, as a matter of fact, we talk about who's the greatest traveling wrestler in the backyard of the wrestling circuit. You know, Aaron Blaze, you were here a few weeks ago. You made a brief appearance on Sportswire Radio. And you were there with this guy, D'Angelo LaFlame. And Mr. Delta had a lot of praise for D'Angelo LaFlame. And it was kind of hinted upon that maybe Mr. LaFlame should be in the position that you are. But after what you're telling me right now live, maybe at ROEW, it should really be Aaron Blaze wrestling D'Angelo LaFlame for that ROEW championship. Because if you really think about it, Jack Delta's basically been Houdini. He might be the luckiest man right now in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit because after the way he won the title and how he kept the title in ROEW, I mean, if you're going to wrestle him after what you did to him, for what you're telling us right here over the past half an hour, that you should be the guy facing off with D'Angelo LaFlame to decide who's the greatest traveling backyard underground wrestler in this circuit, and that Jack Delta really, he's just mid, basically, from what you're telling us today.
See, it's not a matter of mid, but it's more so a matter of... See, I'm not going to say Delta's mid. I'm not going to say that D'Angelo LaFlame is mid.
He's the one guy, though, that's knocking on your footstep, though. He's the guy that's knocked on your door. Mr. Right. Delta acknowledged him. He, you know, a lot of people come on this platform and say, I want to wrestle Jack Delta. Yeah, I want to do it. But he's stopped now multiple times and addressed him by name. He kind of glanced at some of the places you were on. I mean, you're the UWA Heritage Champion right now. And he basically dismissed that. And he basically dismissed his time in UWA. You are doing a lot of great things for UWA. I think what you're doing for UWA is going to pay off in the long run. But he kind of dismissed your time as UWA Heritage Champion. Yeah, I had that belt. I went there. And, you know, even CJ, the world champion there, off kind of the way he addressed certain things from Mr. Delta. That's, some would say, not the conduct of a world heavyweight champion, but you and I are on the same page, and I think UWA is a place to be. I think that UWA is a place that wrestlers should actually want to go out and wrestle for. But he basically almost piled on and crapped on your time there and crapped on your run as their champion. I mean, that kind of speaks volumes in a sense, don't you think?
It does, especially when he's, again, guilty of doing the exact same thing. And I understand people looking to D'Angelo LaFlame and Delta, of course. But it is so easy to look at the people that are handed and able and given these opportunities as opposed to the person that's kept out of the loop.
But you and D'Angelo are very similar in that. You and D'Angelo have had to claw your way. He's gone to places that a lot of people, they wouldn't say, hey, D'Angelo, you want to come? He went out there and did the old-fashioned way, just like you did. You went out and gone to 19 companies the old-fashioned way. Mr. Delta's got the name. I mean, James Taylor's got the name, they've got the name. People will go to them because they know that they're a name. They'll attract more subs. They'll attract more views. There's no question. When Jack Delta comes to Sportswire Radio, people stop what they're doing. 20 people watching that live at 1 o'clock in the morning. When James Taylor's
Yeah.
here, people can say whatever they want about James Taylor. When James Taylor is here, everybody drops what they're doing. So companies know that they want to work with them. But guys like you and LaFlame, you've had to travel thousands upon thousands of miles to go out and then go into companies and prove yourselves that you belong, when really the both of you guys, and especially you, after everything you've done, you don't need to prove anything at all. And as a matter of fact, those companies need to prove that they belong in order to have you there.
Right. And those like companies, most of them end up doing the same things over and over and over again with the same people. And it's hard and almost in a sense pointless for people like me and Flame and even Delta at certain points to even bother going to these companies, because they'll bring us in, oh, they'll bring in subs, they'll bring in views, and then they drag us across the mud so that they can look good and talk about how great they are. I'm not going to say who, you can pinpoint who I'm talking about, but it's just, of course, they're going to be labeled as the big leagues when they don't let big stars into their league and give them a chance. And I think
Are
it's
you saying there's
disingenuous.
politics in the backyard in the underground wrestling
Yes. Oh,
circuit?
absolutely. Absolutely. And my run in Indiana is a shining example of that for both CBW and both XCW. I didn't really ask for much of anything. I asked if they needed help. I asked what did they need me to grab. I asked this, that, and the third. I never tried politicking my way into a title. I never tried anything of the nature. Okay, maybe for CBW because there's nobody of substance there, but that's a whole different conversation. But I am so sick of being told by all these people, "Oh, you've never been to all these places. You can't hang with the big dogs." How do you know that? How do you know that if I've never once stepped in those arenas? That's the thing. These people keep to themselves like a cult and then brag about how legendary they are. Like I looked into VTW and all of a sudden Zach Daniels is world champion again. And he was wrestling under a mask the entire time. Or Mr. Judgment's been champion for God knows how long. Or Navon McDonald's been champion for God knows how long. And they say it's part of a
I mean,
story.
Jack Delta kind of found that out too, right? He was there in North Carolina in VTW, right? Is that a fair
Right,
statement
but
to make?
what's the story? You have like 20 other fucking people working for you, and the same guy's been on top for 3 years. Like they were still champion when I was back in high school. Like you know what I mean? Like every time you tune in, it's the same guys. It's the same guys. And the problem with backyard wrestling or underground wrestling or all wrestling, I'll just say all wrestling. The problem
Say
with
whatever you
wrestling
want. You're live.
the
It's
problem
your
with YouTube wrestling is I noticed that with those companies in GTS, it's that they don't build for the future. And that's what pisses me off with this Delta thing, is that he is burnt out. Pun not intended. He I saw it in his eyes when I shook his hand and got in his face, Tom. He
Well,
is
you were
burnt
there with him in
out.
Indiana. You know, listen, you were there with him. I mean, people listen. I guess they have selective amnesia, but you were in that locker room with him, and
Yeah,
he talked about the fact many times that even last year around this time he was done, and he's talked about now
yeah,
to the fact that if he doesn't win and keep the ROEW championship, that's it. That's it. This is it from him. So, I mean, really, with all that being said, you take that championship away from Jack Delta, and you're the future. You're the one that's going to be here to stay. And Mr.
right.
Delta, we're not going to see him anymore in ROEW, I guess.
Right, and the thing is, I've been staying in this community the entire fucking time. I have helped edit videos for WWA. I try to convince Maximus not to close EBW down. I've been a special guest host for ETW Backyard Wrestling. I've done
You
all
were in
these
the
things
Nexus
behind the
too.
scenes.
Let's not forget
I
that
was
you
in
were
the
in the
Backyard
Nexus.
Wrestling Nexus. I have done all of these things. And Delta and an X amount of people still don't respect me because I'm at the lower tier. When who the fuck are half of these people to make any judgment or criticism of that when they've never been in my shoes and aren't in the means to do what I'm doing on a regular fucking basis? People like guys from not KBW, I'm sorry, DKW. There's so many fucking companies that I watch. It's getting ridiculous. People from DKW, Dark Cron, said that I'm not on the level of a Delta. XCW, not XCW. Jesus Christ, I'm getting confused with stupid people now. Xavier Thorne said that my company's third rate, but weren't you asking to be a part of that company and trying to steal footage from me because no one watches your shit any other time? How are you the stand up, yet you can't even stand out on your own 2 feet?
Well, he's a psychopath now. He's got new rap
No,
music.
he's a legitimate psychopath. And I will say this about Thorne, actually get mental help. I'm saying this brother to brother, man to man,
Well,
person to person, get
Copper
help.
Dragon obviously tried to help him, but that's a whole nother conversation. I have a lot of comments. I have only got about 25 minutes with you, so let me run through comments.
You're good.
Zilla's our resident bot on Sportswire. Just say hello to Zilla.
Hi
Can't
Zilla. I hope you're doing
can't
well.
wait to hear this. Oh, I
Hi
think a lot
Jake.
of people are definitely looking forward to this. Hello to Jake Dvorak. Yes, there's definitely been some pipe bombs here over the past 45 minutes. Darkron is in the house. Obviously, Summer Bash is ahead. We'll have the guys here Thursday. Says afternoon. The Heritage Champion might drop some bombs. I think so, and I think, by the way, good old Jakey boy is going to be here on Sportswire next week. So I think Jake
That's
Howe's
gonna
going to
be
be here.
interesting.
Oh, I think get the popcorn ready
That's
because
gonna be interesting.
Jake is going to be in the house and he's requested a microphone. So you just wait to what Jake
Right.
Howe has to say. It's going to be a headshot like performance. What did you think on Loose Cannon's rap video?
I think he fucking sucks. He needs to get a life.
Well,
I
we
would
haven't seen him since I basically, you want to talk about pipe bombs and literally eviscerated him. Since then, he's been like wiped off the map. But apparently, somebody here, wink and a nod, found some rap music. But you might want to say too, because next week, there's somebody else that did some crack staff like research for us, and I'm gonna have another rap video. But stay tuned; it's not gonna be Thorns. Want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. John Trucker. John is one of the more premier streamers out there on YouTube. He's got over
Hi John.
3,500 subscribers on YouTube. He was having a great conversation with me yesterday off the air, and I got to get him on Sportswire because he really is a big fan of underground and backyard wrestling. But he's like
That's
a
awesome.
serious game streamer. Yeah, he's got 3,500 plus subs on YouTube, so I have to get him on soon. Love the interview with Osiris. I thought you were spot on with what you said about the current state of ESW. Yes, ESW, one thing about very mid right now is ESW Shockwave. An unfortunate thing where the longer it goes on, the more they tarnish their legacy. Unfortunately, that's the case. Companies like ESW, the owner in XCW, unfortunately, they're living off the name, but they're not really doing anything to promote the brand. And I think that's kind of what the point was. The Osiris and even some of the things you've been saying, which a lot of people out loud have said. There are owners in ESW, owners in XCW, and they have this mindset, and it's what it is. Hello to Hellbilly Tilly from the Alliance Wrestling, another true yarder, true legend himself. Howdy, fellas. Hey, we are still backyard as hell. We don't have a real ring, but you're going to have a ring at Summer Bash. So we'll obviously, I'm sure, get into that. Want to say hello to Scorpion the Assassin. He's got a bunch of comments. Congratulations, Aaron. Keep putting in that work and climbing that ladder in this business. Companies are a dime a dozen. Your career is limited. So don't let anyone try to hold you back.
Damn right.
My friend Shane Davidson, but I'm going to just say hello because I know there's a back and forth, but I'm going to say Shane it's Aaron Blaze's moment. I'm sure that, we'll let you at some point talk about it, but I'm going to say right now, he's got important fish to fry right now. So, but happy birthday, happy belated birthday to my friend Shane Davidson. Scorpion, though, says Delta is more like Hogan, all talk with blown up head with limited skills. Aaron has more passion, heart, and drive. Interesting comments.
See, finally someone has fucking said it and acknowledges that truth. And again, let's go back to punching him in the face. I did that to wake him up because Delta's been sleeping in his little cave and his little imaginary bubble for so goddamn long, and he doesn't take me seriously, which means he doesn't respect me. I know a lot of people don't. They don't have to say it. They're already showing to me that they don't. They don't view me as a threat. They don't view me as someone that can take backyard and underground wrestling to bigger and greater heights. They don't view me as the future. They just see me as this little fanboy trying to pretend to be a performer. But I can outwork a handful of these people. I can outtalk a handful of these people. And I'm done being a good little soldier about it. The last thing I was going to do is accept what Delta had to say to my face, shake his hand, and sit down and back off like a good little soldier. I've done that in the comments for him for 3 fucking years. I'm tired of sitting back and waiting just for him to possibly leave again. Because here's the difference between me and Jack Delta. When the going gets tough, Jack Delta leaves and makes pizzas, folds boxes. When the going gets tough for Aaron Blaze, he gets more hours. He's up endless nights writing a script and editing. He's putting together collaborations. He's putting together trips. He's helping out his little brother. He's helping out his single mother. That's what Aaron Blaze is doing. And if you don't respect that, you don't know a single fucking thing about the term and the word respect. Because I've been doing that on a regular basis.
So what kind of pizza does Jack Delta make?
Detroit style. Four corners. Well done. Who the hell knows? I've actually had Detroit pizza and it's good, but that's not the point. The point is, when the going gets tough, he leaves. I'm still around even though I left. And that's why I need to take the ROEW World Championship. It's not even about winning 18 or 19 or whatever world championships for me. It's not even about saying, hey, I went to this place and I took this from them. No, I'm paving the way for the future whether people like it or not. Because I'm so sick and tired of people labeling me as less than when I know I am greater than these people on passion and performance.
So what would it mean to you to be the ROEW champion?
Everything. It would mean that for all the years I was bullied doing this, that it was worth it. When my own family didn't believe in me and my vision, it would be worth it. For every single friend or girlfriend that's led me astray, that it was worth it. For me not pulling the trigger or hanging myself, that it was worth it. That it was worth it to become somebody and pave the way to for the future to give these kids or other people something to believe in. That no matter their race, no matter their weight, that they themselves can become something great. That is why I go to these companies. I don't just do it to rub salt in the wound of, hey, look what I won, look where I went. I do it to give people something to believe in and a reason to smile. I don't do it to stroke my own ego. I don't care if it's on mats. I don't care if it's a basement. I don't care if it's tarps, ground, ring, whatever. I'm not, you know, racist against the environment. Like, I'll wrestle in any kind of capacity. I've taken light tubes across my bare skin. I've been drilled on the thumbtacks and Legos. I've been whipped with a leather belt with barbed wire. I've been stabbed in the back by my best friend and my cousin. I've gone through all these things to give the world a message, to make them feel for something. And I don't need to do a bunch of bullshit like all these other guys to make them get to that point. And the point is, I am the future because I live and pray and breathe for the future. And these guys are just stuck in the past. Delta represents the past. And it was working back then. It's not working now. It's not. Because how long is it going to take for him to suffer one more hit? And then he's gone for good. And then the ROEW championship's vacant. And then all the momentum this company has is done because of him.
So
I just say
ROEW
in the
can't go.
community the
So
trouble.
ROEW can't go forward with Jack Delta as champion. The only way that ROEW can reach the heights and the level of places like TBW, the places like I don't know VTW and other places ESW, is only with Aaron Blaze as the ROEW champion. Is that what you're telling me right now?
Yes. And it's so goddamn painful that so many people don't want to give me a shot. That so many people only want to bring me in and prop me up to weigh me down. It happened with Chris Jones. It happened with Elimination Chained. It happened with Desmond Cross. And you want to know what the funny thing is? Over half those people aren't even around anymore. Those people are either part-time or they're done. I'm still here. That's what really ticks me off with this whole thing, with all the situations that happened in Indiana and all these other people coming in and coming out. Division Nick, gone. Kurt Adams, gone. Fletch is halfway in this. So many people can't do this anymore because their bodies are giving up on them. I'm young and I'm hungry and I'm still going. And all those people I've listed in some capacity, I have beaten or out muscled, outperformed, and outsmarted. But you don't want to look at me. You're going to look at the past. And it's bullshit. How are we going to pave the way for the future if you're not going to look at the future? I'm not saying there's not other people that are qualified, but I damn sure believe I'm the most.
Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you need to follow ROEW at ROEW Backyard Wrestling as you're watching it here on YouTube. They just surpassed 750 subscribers. Hit the sub button for them. They're on the way to 1,000. TikTok, ROEW Backyard Wrestling. Also Instagram at ROEW Backyard Wrestling. And we are here with the number one contender to the ROEW Championship. That is the headline, Aaron Blaze, who is also the UWA Heritage Champion. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. We're going to have about 15 or 20 more minutes or so with Aaron Blaze, the number one contender who you're going to see later this week on ROEW Face Off in a good guy gossip segment with him and Jack Delta, the man that we're seeing right now on the screen. Let me get to some comments because a lot of people still want to chime in. James Taylor, your boss right now in ROEW, says hello, Mr. Tom and Mr. Blaze, and good to see you as well. And he's very happy with what you're saying. Mr. Taylor is very happy because he knows what's best for business. In many ways, James Taylor and you have a lot of similarities. You guys, some people in the community don't like, other people say, they go out in it for himself. But the facts are, is you and James Taylor have some of the most passion I've seen of anybody in this community. And that's why I'm very proud to have both of you here right now. And I agree with James 1,000%. What's best for business in ROEW is Aaron Blaze right now. And I'll dare say it right now. It's the epicenter of backyard and underground wrestling is ROEW. And everybody's talking about Jack Delta and Aaron Blaze. I was so excited to talk with you and Jack Delta. I had segments over the past week on Sportzwire. And yeah, we did them. You know, we had a show on Tuesday last week, and it was what it was. And this Tuesday, on the other hand, though, I'm speaking with you, and I'm fired up, and I'm ready to go because all I want to do is talk about what's going on with ROEW, along with things like Riot in the Ring, along with things like the All Wrestling Matters Hardcore Tournament, Summer Bash. I think this is why ROEW is the place to be. Scorpion agrees. James also wants to say, you know something, guys? You know it would be big money? A triple threat match between LaFlame, Blaze, and Delta. Do you think that would happen, though? Do you think that that would be something that could happen? I mean, after all, that would be a dream match. I mean, the three men that have probably traveled the most miles of anybody in the backyard in the underground ever. I mean, if you think about it, certainly in 2024, I mean, what would you say on something like that? It's an interesting concept there from our ROEW owner, the most progressive owner and the greatest owner right now, I think, in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit has ever seen in James Taylor.
See, the thing is, Flame's not on my radar right now. He was before until I got serious. The only thing that I'm concerned with right now is pinning Jack Delta and holding that ROEW championship in my hands. However, I am not going to take away that D'Angelo LaFlame is, pun not intended, making more moments. I'm not going to take anything away from where he's gone and what he plans
He
to
just
do.
had a hell of a match at the Riot in the Ring with D Savage. He's got Jake Dvorak coming up this Friday. He's got Soldier GP at Summer Bash. I mean, D'Angelo LaFlame is definitely making waves, but he's not in ROEW. Right now, your focus is on Jack Delta. Your focus is on a man that obviously you've been following for a long time. You followed in his footsteps, but you want to prove to the world once and for all that you're the true outsider. You're the guy that's the greatest traveling wrestler that this backyard and underground wrestling circuit has seen. And you're the guy that's going to take ROEW to levels that not only ROEW has never seen, but truly maybe even in the backyard, the underground wrestling circuit. So I could certainly understand why your focus is only on the outsider, the so-called outsider, Jack Delta. Darkron, let me get to some comments here. Darkron says he wants to challenge Jack Delta with an emoji laugh. But Mr. Taylor says, DKW, have your CEO message me and maybe we can work something out. And he says he'll do that. I want to say hello to Isaac Garza. How you doing, Isaac? Nice to see you. I know where you're from. Oddly enough, I agree with Blaze. Man speaks truth. That's certainly a fair point. Also, here, anyone can travel. That doesn't make you the best or a hot commodity. If you last in a company, you have that loyalty and show those skills. That's what makes you wanted in a hot commodity. And I think that's interesting analogy there. It's a rather almost baseball commentary.
Because that's exactly what I fucking did towards the end of last year. I called off a whole week of work to make every single Halloween show in XCW. I showed up to viewers'
that you went through, and you had to get up there, help set up with the ring. You had to be there, and you were there.
Tear it down.
You weren't getting home until days. I mean, what you did to go and make that commitment to Indiana, and even to this day, there are guys in Indiana questioning your commitment, questioning what you did for that company.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Because I knew what you were going through to go to Indiana. I knew what you were doing to help that company. You were beyond selfless. You would dare say the most selfless person to have ever stepped foot in that company. To go out there, the miles that you traveled, what you did in terms of being there outside the ring, inside the ring, wrestling with the different talent. You were going there and taking time away from your own company and your own family. People don't know what you go through with your brother. People don't know what they go through with your mother. People don't know what they go through in terms of working to help put a roof over your head. You literally work so much to try to keep the roof over your head, let alone YBW, let alone the editing, let alone improving your craft. People don't know those things. And for people in Indiana or any other place, as a matter of fact, to challenge your commitment, to challenge your sacrifices to the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit, they may need to look in the mirror and they might want to reevaluate not only their own self in the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit, but maybe their own self, period. Because trust me, I see a lot of people in my life. I've met a lot of people. Now, a lot of people know on this platform, yes, I have been very successful in life. I would dare say in a shoot, I might be the most successful individual outside of the backyard of the underground wrestling circuit ever. That's a shoot, but it's also as something that I show to people is in a way that you can do it. You can do these things. And this young man is 19 years old. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, he's a baby still in this world. He is a baby in a man's world. But look at what this man has done. Whether it's in Indiana, whether it's in Tennessee, now in Michigan, his own company. He's gone out there. He's been selfless. He's shown the passion and he's shown the commitment. And that's why he very well could be the greatest traveling wrestler of all time once he defeats the outsider, Jack Delta, not only to win that ROEW World Heavyweight Championship, but maybe to be the true outsider once and for all in the backyard of the wrestling circuit. Let's get to some more comments. Yeah, I think for 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we've got a bunch of people here live on YouTube and X. And I think, John, a lot of people are fired up. Absolutely. It's Aaron Blaze. Listen, Aaron Blaze doesn't come here often. Aaron Blaze is not here every day on Sportswire. It's not every day that we get Aaron Blaze to come here and say something. He's had a lot to get off his chest. And I can assure you that once he wrestles Jack Delta and takes that ROEW championship from him, Aaron Blaze is going to be here live and also probably be in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame right afterwards. So I have no doubt he's got a lot to say. So I know exactly what Blaze is talking about with the same people on top all the time. This backyard wrestling and the damn politics and some of these companies are a joke. I know how to run a company. I tell you what, since James took over the company, 750 subs now. You're playing here now. Jack Delta's decided he's an outsider. I mean, I hear more names are on the way. More things are ahead. We got a good guy gossip session. I mean, at the end of the day, the numbers speak for themselves. ROEW right now is the epicenter of the backyard, the underground wrestling circuit. And I'm proving that in ROEW today. I want to say hello to Brian Murray. Aaron, I don't want to blow your business up, but I'll say this. Do you show up? Yes. Do you perform? Yes. But let's cut the crap. You aren't the greatest. I tried to give you the advice, but you don't listen. Now, tell us who this might be.
I don't even know who it is. And honestly,
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay.
I really don't care. Because I only talk to a select few group of people, and I don't really know anybody named Brian. I think there might be someone that I used to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who this is,
Okay.
and I don't really care.
Okay,
But
let me move on to the
everyone
rest of
says
the
that.
comments.
Everyone says that, though.
Okay, well, I want to move to the rest of the comments in the interest because I have only a couple of more minutes with you and a couple of questions I have to get through. Hello from Monoxide. So, hello there, Mr. Monoxide. Brother will reach out after this weekend show. Yes, definitely. I want to talk with you for sure. Absolutely. We've been talking, and I'm very happy about that. Sportswire now is becoming backyard wrestling's version of the Breakfast Club with all these guys rapping. And some people say I'm the greatest rapper of all time, but these are the guys that actually are. And it's not Loose Cannon, and it's not Xavier Thorne. I will say, though, real quick, I was actually on my way to yesterday's stream with Soldier GP on my way from one of my jobs in Manhattan. I actually got stopped by somebody in my neighborhood. It was like, I think you've made it. I'm like, you think so? And he's like, yeah, I watch you all the time. And
I'd
I was
say
like,
so.
well, I made it in life, but I don't know about this, but we'll see. We'll move away from that. I want to say hello to DG Colt. I'm an Aaron Blaze guy. He's a good dude, said exactly what he means. Plus, he's got great taste in memes. And DG Colt is definitely somebody that he
Thank you.
knows what he's talking about, and he's one of my favorites. I've heard Delta's criticism, and admittedly, I respect it. I get it, but UWA is worth watching, and UWA is absolutely worth watching. UWA is on my team anytime, and UWA will always have a home on Sportswire. Really, everybody has a home on Sportswire. I want to say all the time, I feel like I eat, I bathe, I give people a home on this platform. Nobody is ever turned away on this platform, and UWA is on my team. I love all the guys in UWA. Everybody in UWA, from my vantage point, has been stand-up. Everybody in UWA has been people that I want anytime on this platform, and you're the reason I'm speaking all the time with UWA. So I want to put that out there. I want to thank you, the headline Aaron Blaze, for connecting us with great people in UWA. And UWA will always be on my team. So you don't ever have to worry about that. Jake, Chase Sullivan, CJ, Mercer, everybody doesn't have to worry in UWA. Tristan Taylor was in the house last week, and he's back with a bang. So like and subbed came from Trucker Stream. Thank you, Jeremy, for that. That means so much to me. It means a lot, and I can't thank you enough. Blaze will indeed become the ROEW World Champion. Like and sub from John. Do you guys talk WWE and AEW? Friday night, 10 o'clock. Friday night, 10 o'clock, I will be talking what's going on with AEW and Shane McMahon, what's going on with WWE, and everything else in between. So 10 o'clock Friday nights. Come out and hang out with us. A couple of guys, Alan Michaels, Shane Davidson will be here. So absolutely, I'll be here 10 o'clock Eastern time talking WWE. In fact, as a matter of fact, I'll talk 24 hours a day. If you want, before I get to Mr. Blaze for a few more minutes, I'll talk whatever you want. But no, seriously, I'm the one man. Listen, I'm here for you. You built the community. You're in luck because I'm the man that has the time to do this. I'm the man that can be here. I don't have to worry about the bills. I don't have to worry about a roof over my head. I don't have to worry about
what that's like.
Well, I worked for it. Let me tell you something. I didn't grow up with a gold, bronze, or silver spoon, but I worked to get the spoons. But the point is that I'll be here. If you want me to be here and the demand is there, I'll talk whatever you want. So Friday night, 10 o'clock, I'll talk WWE and AEW. But if you want it and you want the demand, you get the people like here right now at 2:15. Yeah, I'll talk whatever you want. I can do it. But you got to give me a bathroom break once in a while. As much as I'm respecting Blaze and happy that he's here at ROEW, there's one thing. This match is going to be the biggest challenge in his career. I couldn't agree with you more. It's going to be the greatest match. Yep. Blaze is one of the most respectful and kind people I've met. Really glad he's in UWA, and he's been a great help, and I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm glad he's also a part of ROEW, and I'm glad he's here on this platform right now. Don't get me started on that company, but we're here with them, and I want everybody to have an opportunity. I want everybody to be here, and it's all Wrestling Matters, and UWA is on my team. Hello to the legendary Doc Holliday, and I love Doc Holliday. By the way, he's going to be a big part of the Riot in the Ring on Friday. I got very limited time with you, so let me get to a couple of final questions. First, what is your final words for the outsider, Jack Delta?
So I'm going to bring a certain couple of things up in the good guy gossip that only he's going to understand. So that's a little heads up. But that's the idea. I make people think about these certain things I say, and then they backtrack certain things that other people have done, and then they go watch it, and they keep getting views. Like, everything I do is with purpose, and it's all connected because I want everybody to grow in the grand scheme of things. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I don't fear what CJ Black has to say or do. And if I'm not stupid. If he wants to swing, that's fine. Just know if he thinks about it, I will swing back and he'll be on the floor. That's the second thing. The third thing is I can go on and on here and on at the good guy gossip thing and talk about how this is going to be the greatest thing to ever hit backyard and underground wrestling. Because people keep going into this mindset that it's going to be a match. Guys, I'm going to be real with you. This is a fight. I am fighting for my life, for my legacy, for my passion, for everything. This isn't going to be a technical showcase. This isn't going to be 9 stars in the Tokyo Dome. It's going to be my knee going off of Delta's dome piece and me holding up the ROEW World Championship because I know I belong in that company, and that championship that's on the channel art looks good around my waist. I am not afraid to pull out things that he's mentioned or probably that he's going to mention and switch up my arsenal. I'm not afraid to remind him of his past and his origins and make him really remember and understand where I'm coming from and why I punched him in the face and why I stomped his head in and why I have no problem doing it again. And people can take that as, oh, you're not gonna fight Delta at 100% because you're scared, guys. Delta hasn't been 100% in 3 years. He's been burnt out physically and mentally, and now I'm gonna burn him out spiritually because he has all of his ideals and this big passion for this, and he wants everybody to improve, but only if he's at the top of the mountain. And that piece of stone is going to get cut off pretty quickly by me. Because I know no one wants to see it. Because who in the hell wants to accept a random kid who has all of his history, who has his own company, who has his own challenges, and is still traveling to be the guy that puts Jack Delta away for good? I get it. I get it. If I was looking on the outside of that, being an outsider, I wouldn't want to acknowledge that truth either. But it's the reality of the situation. Because anybody else would be doing this for themselves. They're not doing it for the same reasons I'm doing it for. And that's the difference. So when there's a 1, 2, 3, and the ROEW championship is in my hands, I don't want to hear anything from Xavier Thorne. I don't want to hear anything from all these cult companies. I don't want to hear anything from people like Brian making remarks and all these people with backwards thoughts about me saying that Aaron Blaze can't go, Aaron Blaze can't do this, Aaron Blaze can't do that. The doubt ends because unless I win this match, people aren't going to take me seriously or want to book me or want me at the top of the mountain and can be proud of it. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not asking for people to want to have me at the top. I am taking it because I have paid my dues for too long and it's gotten me super kicked. It's gotten me jackknifed. It's gotten me rolled up. It's gotten me beaten down. It's gotten me turned on. It's put so much dark energy and mana into my spirit, my body, and my life. I need this championship to rejuvenate me, to make it seem like everything I do isn't for nothing. Because I'm tired of feeling like nothing. I am something. I am somebody. And I'm tired of people labeling me as otherwise. I am now taking it. And I'm going to do it the right way.
I have two last questions for you. First, is this the biggest match of your career?
Yes. I'm going to be honest with you. If I lose this match, I'm not saying I'm going to leave ROEW. I'm not saying I'm going to retire because that's not the truth either. But if I, and I'm sorry for the background noise, I can't control it.
No, listen, you're
But
Aaron Blaze. You got the floor.
But if I lose this match, it's going to sting a little bit. Because I don't feel like afterwards Delta would respect me. I don't feel like the community at large would. I feel like the only way I get what I want is if I win this match. And I said, I don't care how long it takes for me to do it. I'm the guy that puts Delta away and takes on our ROEW World Championship. It makes no sense for anybody else to do it. It has to be me, Tom. I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart. I'm not coming to you as Aaron Blaze the headline. I'm coming to you as Eamon Janae Schilling. It has to be me. It has to. And I don't want to wait later in the year. It needs to be within this month.
Well, he's talked about chapters. He's talked about the fact that this is chapter 2. We'll have to find out. I mean, obviously, the chapter could close real soon. He's talked about the fact that he's only going to have a long list of chapters, but I have, after what you've said tonight on this platform, I have no doubt that that chapter could close very early potentially. But I have one final question for you before we start. I know you have to run. You're obviously getting ready for the Good Guy Gossip session. You're obviously getting ready for a lot of things, also RBW related. You got obviously calls with James Taylor, obviously calls with the locker room. But my last question is, are you the greatest traveling backyard and underground wrestler that this circuit has ever seen? That will be magnified with this victory that you've talked about. So, are you the greatest traveling backyard and underground wrestler this circuit's ever seen?
No. I know my limits and I know to give credit where it's due. There are so many companies out there, and it's obvious that Jack Delta has physically ventured out to every single one. He's been to companies that I've been to, companies I will never be a part of, and companies I could potentially be on if certain people would pick up their phone and not leave me on red. I don't believe I'm the greatest traveler in the sense of numbers. I don't believe I'm the greatest traveler in that
But if
paradigm.
you win this match, and talk about what you did, then we should have a conversation putting you on the Mount Rushmore with the likes of Jack Delta. I mean, shouldn't that be the case? I mean, if you win this match, from what you're telling us today, I mean, you win this, you should be on that Mount Rushmore.
I feel like I already am, but it's more so for the biggest names in the yard and not traveling in regards to companies and
Okay, so
events
from a
and whatnot.
traveling standpoint, you would be on the Mount Rushmore all time for sure. The championships you've won, the miles. I even brought you up with the tribal cheese and talked about wrestlers that are the five best. If you were to put five best in the UK versus five best in the backyard, you were on my team alongside Jack Delta. So there's
I
no
appreciate
question
it.
that you're on a Mount Rushmore. So, but if you beat Delta for the traveling circuit, shouldn't you then be on the Mount Rushmore easily?
No, because there's a difference between greatest of all time in the sense of just wrestling and then the places you have wrestled. Those are two completely different
Okay,
realms. And I
fair
know
enough.
that.
Okay.
But I do expect more doors to open for me after this. Because I feel like, and I even cut a promo last year when I was YBW Breakout Champion, backyard wrestling fears me. That still holds true to me, I believe. Because I'm younger, I'm hungrier, and I'm willing to sacrifice more in a single trip than any one of these guys will in a single year. The amount of my real life I have missed because of this. The
You've missed graduations, you've missed birthday
yeah,
parties, relationships. I mean, you've really, went through it all. And obviously, that's why we're so excited to see the match between Jack Delta and Aaron Blaze. Before that, though, this week, we're going to see on ROEW Backyard Wrestling's YouTube page at ROEW Backyard Wrestling, the Good Guy Gossip with CJ Black, Aaron Blaze, and Jack Delta. Those three men with one microphone. Oh, my God. You thought Friday with Jack Delta and Aaron Blaze was a live one. You thought the mic drops and the pipe bombs were going left and right. Wait until those three are in a room together at the ROEW arena. I would only want to say I would love to be a fly in that wall, but I'll certainly say I am hoping that we'll get one of the guys on from the fallout of that match. But I know you have to run. Let me give you closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and fire away.
to not that I'm trying to quote him and rip him off, but support backyard wrestling. It's where the real stars come from, and don't overlook the stars of tomorrow. I wish if everyone had a separate mindset and actually cared about this All Wrestling Matters movement and wanted to evolve, they would be more inclusive. I'm not saying that you have to give everyone a red carpet to who walks in the door. However, you shouldn't lock them out of the room that brings them into the conversation. That's all I have to say in that regard.
Okay, well, you know what? I have no doubt that the movement is definitely, as far as I'm concerned, is not locking out Aaron Blaze. And I think that the people on my team are definitely not locking him out. And I can't speak for the past. I can't speak for what's been done. But I can tell you what's ahead is that Aaron Blaze is going to be very much one of the leaders of that movement because he's about to take that ROEW championship away. It looks like from what he said today from the outsider, Jack Delta. They may call him the headline Aaron Blaze, but it looks like after what we see in the next few weeks, weeks, we could be calling the real outsider Aaron Blaze, but also the ROEW champion of the world. If you want to follow him, he's on Instagram, he's on Threads, also on TikTok. If you want to buy some merchandise from the YBW, so that goes a long way in supporting him. Also, YBW 2018 on YouTube. If you want to support him in the UWA, those are all those links there. Please support those. Everybody, it's about working together, open collaboration. We're all on the same team. Together we win. Let's support those that are out there. This man has given his blood, sweat, and tears, as Hillbilly Tilly always says. He has been at the epicenter of that. Let's support those who are going out there and have walked the miles to give us the opportunity to be here today and talking about what we love is backyard and underground wrestling. And he is a part of right now, maybe the hottest segment right now, maybe the hottest match right now. It's the talk of the town, right up there with Summer Bash and other things. It's Aaron Blaze and Jack Delta. ROEW's YouTube page is where you got to get all the information from. And also here, Doc Holliday is going to be watching, the legendary Doc Holliday. Thank you, Doc, for your support. And we'll see Jake also in the UWF on the 13th. But I know you got to run. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing the match. I hope to see you next time here, maybe as the ROEW champion, but also into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And I look forward to all the things you do. Thank you so much for your support, your friendship, and everything else. And most importantly, to your sacrifices and your commitment to the backyard and the underground wrestling circuit. And I can't wait to see you here in a few weeks.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. I always love coming on here.
Well, we didn't have a mid-like show with you here. It might have been a midday, but this was definitely not a mid-show on Sportswire Radio. So thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. This is Aaron Blaze. He's the #1 contender to the ROEW Championship. He's also the UWA Heritage Champion. Thank you to the guys in UWA also for their support. John wants to say thank you. Also, great show. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all wrestling matters. I'll be here at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Stay tuned for an announcement in a little while. And also, ROEW, go hit them up for YouTube and also UWA. And I'll be here, everybody, and again, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling
Matters.